Now.
Beautiful.
There you
Perrier.
are. Yeah, you know it. I just went up to the Alps there to get that view.
Yeah.
Right, we are golden.
Thunderstruck. That's the song we need.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Alan, why should I give you this job?
Because I'm really good at it. What is your job?
Could you tell me about your experience, please? Alan, you are very welcome to the Tap In Speak Out podcast, powered by TAPiTAG, here in the heart of your favourite place in the whole wide world, Athlone.
Do you know, I was only just thinking about that. I was thinking, you know, you do the intro there, you know, thanks a million for coming to Athlone. I'd take any chance to get yeah.
So,
I've gone from the office
so all the locals pubs there, anyways, yeah. You're well known around these neck of the woods. Yeah,
what's Al doing at Athlone on a Wednesday?
What's he not doing here on a Wednesday?
Al, no, really happy to be here.
Brilliant. No, look, I really appreciate you coming down, doing the pod with us. We go back a long way, back to 2006 or 2007, I believe.
We're not that old.
Back when we both didn't have receding hairlines. So
we were talking about that earlier.
I know. So, Jesus, yeah, look at times change. It's been brilliant. So
haven't aged a bit.
No, well, no, the Botox is working. That's all I'll say for you.
Yeah.
What I wanted, what we're doing with the podcast is want to get your story, want to get your journey, and want to get a feeling of what it takes to come from where you were, let's say, back in the day, like when you were much younger, to running a massive business now that's shipping globally. And I think what you've mentioned is a million parcels is the target for the coming year, which is mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. All from the heart of Blanche and other areas then around the world.
It's been a mad journey now, to be honest.
Take us back. Tell us about it. Take us back to the start. Before TBM, take us back 15, 20 years ago. What was the background?
Yeah, so I think I started in TNS distribution around 2004, 2005 time. I'd been working in retail. I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. So it was like, okay, let's just get something to keep me going.
Yep.
And then I was asked to come and work in the warehouse TNS distribution. I did that for a couple of years, really enjoyed it, great culture in the place, and really kind of sat in there. And then that kind of progressed. I went on into purchasing, managing the purchasing for TNS distribution. That was a pretty big job. I really loved being there, to be honest. Yep. Yeah, I think we all had great fun, and I think that culture is really important. Absolutely. You know, and I think we instill that now today in TBM Solution. And then, you know, it all came crashing down. To say the least. Yeah, I was on a high, got a great job, married, 3 kids.
Yeah.
2017 came, and then suddenly new owner came in.
Yeah.
Culture, totally different. You know, I've been 16 years there. I was like, how can it change so differently? I don't know. I'd say I was probably a little bit lax, actually. I probably sat back and I was like, you know, it'll be all fine. It'll be cool. So then there was a real midlife twist. Al, you're being made redundant. I was like, okay, right. 3 kids, shit. What am I going to do? So then kind of, you know, you kind of have your thinking cap on. And I think, you know, if I kind of reflect a little bit on my family, you know, my extended families, my brothers, there's always that entrepreneurial piece is throughout our family.
Yeah.
Like this year, the family business is celebrating 200 years. You know, that's through us all. And I think I kind of went out looking, going, listen, what am I going to do? What have I built up over the last 16 years? You look in your network, you ask your colleagues, and then a chance came. Ed Corkery walks into the building and we just start talking. I goes, here, being made redundant, Ed. Then we just started talking, and then it's like tumbleweed. It gets bigger. Then the buzz starts coming into it, and you go, right, let's set up our own company. Let's go with it. And then, you know, the doubt's there. I'm 38, 3 kids, wife, mortgage. had a great lifestyle at the time, and suddenly that totally flips having a washer. You know, me and Ed are trying to get the company off the ground. And, you know, those early days, like, traveling from, I was north side, Ed was on the south side. He'd a setup over there. We were trying to get TBM going. You know, it was lonely. That's actually one of the things. Yeah, it was lonely at the time. I'd come from a company that nearly 100 people working there.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's just me and Ed facing each other. You know, and people say, you know, you were straight into e-commerce. No, we weren't. We were like, listen, you know, grab everything. Yeah. I've got to get a salary out of this. So everything that came by, you were grabbing it, you were doing it. And then just momentum picked up over time. And we were like, so if I could explain, Ed was doing online selling, Amazon platforms, eBay. I'd come from a distribution background, but I actually had this passion while I was in TNS, e-commerce, online selling, direct to consumer. Yeah. That was my passion. And I was like, right, okay, let's follow that dream. Let's follow that passion. Ed's was similar. He had the same background. And then over time, we tried different things. Like me and Ed were reflecting the other day going, geez, we tried to set up a software company called Wheelhouse. You know, like what were we doing? But it was just your brain's going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. You're like, right, okay, we try this, we try that. And then I think it nearly took 3 years. Suddenly it all kind of calmed down and we were going, right, okay, we're e-commerce, we're direct consumers. So much so that if you come to us today, we are so niche down, it's fast-moving consumer goods. We are in the beauty and cosmetic space. Excellent. That's what we do. And why have we niched down so much? To become really fucking good at what you do. You know, that if someone thinks about something towards fast-moving consumer goods, or even in that beauty space, it's a light bulb moment. They just go TBM to it. They do it in Ireland. They do it in the UK. And they are shit hot at doing it. I'm not bragging about that. We are good. We've got great people who work in the organisation. And yeah.
Does that stems from the top though? That drive, getting those brands in, as you said, and I wrote down a couple of notes here. Lonely, pressure, redundancy. No, but I mean it, because I think as a leader of a company, you're always probably going to be lonely. You're always going to have that sense of loneliness that you're going to drive it on until you get that.
I think I'm lucky because it's me and Ed.
Yeah.
I actually do think of founders on their own, and I actually say I couldn't do it.
It's difficult.
I'll be straight up with you. I couldn't do that. Yeah. Like, you know, Ed's got his qualities, I've got my qualities, but coming together and being able to talk about different things that's a breath of fresh air when you're able to do that. Yeah. But being on your own, that's a lonely place.
So it's like transparency, honesty between the two of you obviously is really key, really important to drive business on.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ed knows everything about me. All my good sides, my bad sides.
Does Kieran know this,
Look, you've got to listen. Yeah, there's no hidden agendas or absolutely. You've got to. It's another relationship. It's a marriage. Yeah, it's got to be like that, and you've got to have complete trust in each other.
You talk about these brands that you've on, but like when you talk about let's say the industry that you're working in, some of the brands that you've onboarded, right? What was the light bulb moment? When did that kind of go? Like you've named cosmetics there as an example.
Yeah.
What was the light bulb moment to say, actually, cosmetics, this is where it's at. We can be really good in this part of the industry.
I don't actually think there was a light bulb moment. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I think it was more the direction we were always going in. Because as you go on that journey, you know, we used to do textiles again, you know, as we went down that e-commerce space, you kind of grabbed everything. But if we were to continue in that journey, that's more massive warehouses taking up loads and loads of space. And that's our biggest pain point in our business, is trying to acquire space to continue to grow. So when we look at cosmetics, we look at small products, take up little or no space, and they're consumables and they're fast moving. Whereas if you look at the other side, you might go, right, okay, will we get into doing pillows, duvets? That's slower moving stuff. It's harder to warehouse all of that. So that's why we picked that niche. So that's just the journey that we went on and how we progressed over time. And we really niched down into that. I suppose over the last 18 months, that's become more so because we were very fortunate that we run like a partnership program with digital marketing agencies, all of that. You know, we teamed up with TikTok 18 months, 2 years ago. And the first bit they wanted to get into the Irish and the EU market was cosmetics. And we were like,
we'll do it.
We'll do it. We'll do it. And that's the direction we were going in. Yep. And, you know, I think that piece is just so important. It's, you know, it's people, it's your clients, and it's your partnerships. Like if I could tell you about a journey, you know, sheer chance, you know as well as I do, Mark, you know, unless you're out there meeting people all the time, you know, you're not going to find those chances. No. And what happened to us about 18 months ago was, you know, we were at Ecom up in Belfast. Kevin Traynor, amazing guy. We've had a great partnership with him. Me and Ed were having a few beers at the end of the event, and he goes, "Listen, can I introduce you to this guy? He's the ops guy for TikTok." And we were like, "Great, yeah." And he goes, "Listen, we need to set up in Ireland." And we were like, "Right, okay." And we progressed on this amazing journey over the last 18 months. And then barriers came along, and one of them was, right, okay, don't know how we're going to do this, but TikTok has policies. You have to have an entity, you have to have directors, you have to have responsible people. And then, you know, me and Ed looked at our past history and goes, "You know what, we could do that up.
Yeah.
We could set up a separate company. Yeah, we've got another partner here, Barry McLean. He's an accountant. Let's all pull together." And between all of us, TikTok, Elso, TBM, we set up Elso, and now we become the merchant of record for any non-EU brands that come into the Irish or the EU market. That's where we started actually initially. And now we do UK, Europe, and we do the US. And that journey has been like mind blowing because, you know, if I reflect on the first 6 months trading, we turned over 1.8 million. And over the next 12 months, we'll turn over just short of about 13 million. Excellent. And that's it's those partnerships. It's what brands want. And by staying close to them, that's what makes you progress all the time. Again, going back to the terminology, like tumbleweed, you know, stay stuck to your clients, stuck to your partnerships, and it'll just grow.
Excellent, excellent. For any brands that are listening in and they're looking at TikTok as a platform and they're looking for a partner, how do they reach out? What's the process in linking in with TBM?
Yeah, so like we've multiple ways. You know, brands talk to TikTok, TikTok refer them to us. But if a brand is listening in today, you know, whether they're an Irish brand, an EU brand, they can come to us. We can actually bring them into the UK market. We can set them up with a TikTok storefront. And amazingly, we can have them up and running in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Incredible.
Yeah, so they have a storefront. They can begin selling. They don't have to worry about VAT. We become the merchant of record. And then TBM behind the scenes then manage the fulfillment for them, direct to consumer. We have an amazing program going on at the minute with a massive cosmetics company, one of the biggest TikTok cosmetics company in the UK. We brought them to the US. And listen, you remember Argent's Tony, long-standing partnership. Yeah. We brought them over there and we're handling those merchant of record for them. So we set up a US company. And that allows these brands to go, right, okay, let's try the US. Let's dip in there. The lads can have us going in a couple of weeks and we can trial these markets without going, okay, I've got to look after my VAT, I've got to look after my tax. All of those, that just lengthens the process.
Absolutely.
And you know as well as I do, when that process becomes really long, you start thinking about different things.
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So when we speed it up, it just means that they can literally set up straight away.
Amazing. What separates you, Alan, and TBM from any sort of competition? Obviously, TikTok is one piece. And I suppose you've touched on 3 or 4 times, which I love, relationships, networking, and building that long-term partnership. How do you guys at TBM really push that to your staff that this is, and I know the likes of Connor who's in TBM, a long-term staff member, he's built up relationships, his journey has been brilliant with TBM, and obviously that comes from the top, yourself and Ed. How do you push that into your staff?
Do you know what? We spent a lot of time on values. Early on, me and Ed were like, right, okay, how do we build a culture here that everyone works towards? And that was bringing out the values in the company. And, being straight up and honest with you, it's great people. Yeah. It's like employing great people. They're not hard, they're not easy to find. Yeah, you take chances. They work, sometimes they don't work. It's not the right fit for people. And it's giving them the tools and not letting them off, but having the belief in the person. Yeah. When you have that belief in the person, it's a bit like I look at myself and I go, right, okay, I'm buzzing every day going to work. You're thinking of this, you're driving home, you're buzzing about this. Yeah. When I then see that in that other person that's working within TBM, I'm going, right, okay, he's the right fit. Yeah. The guy who comes in with the head down and keeps quiet, he's not the right fit. And it's a bit like, my kids are becoming of an age and they're like, oh, Dad, what'll I do? Blah, blah, blah. And I just go, do what you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do what you enjoy doing. Because if you don't enjoy what you're doing,
it'll feel like work. It will feel like work.
Exactly, Mark. It'll feel like work. Whereas I go to work every day, I'm buzzing. I'm thinking about where we're going next, what we want to do, where will we see ourselves in 2 or 3. And then the other thing is, when you have time with family or whatever, your holidays, you're reflecting on where you've come from, like today, and you're going, wow, did we do all that?
Yeah.
And that's not just me and Ed. That's, to answer your question, that's the people in the organization. Yeah. There's no I in team, as they say. Yeah. We all come together. I've got my qualities, Ed's got his, and everyone sits into their position and really excels at what they do.
So how do you balance that then, Al, right? So how do you, the pressure of delivering for all these big, massive brands and keep those core values? How do you guys manage that internally? Because that can't be easy.
It's very difficult. Yeah. Listen, you started it there with, over the next 12 months, we'll do over 1.2 million parcels. That's, we're doing that 7 days a week. There's no stopping. Over peak, we do 24 hours a day. And that's actually changing at the minute. We're changing to a full 7-day a week, 24 hours.
Incredible.
Yeah, just to keep things going. It comes with a huge amount of pressure, but everybody has their roles within the organization. And you've got to have belief in those people, that I believe in them. They know what they're doing. Yep. They come with expertise, and everyone, it's like a big cog. Everyone's just doing their piece, and it's trucking along. And, me and Ed come out with some brainwave ideas that we'll do X, Y, and Z, and they trust us. And that's what's got us to where we are today. We work together as a team. That's the most important piece.
So dealing with all these big global corporate brands who are you've probably gone to TikTok, you go onto your social media.
You see them every day.
You see them every day, and you're like, whoa.
Doing lives in the warehouse. It's the maddest thing you've ever seen.
They might have 800,000 likes or views on it.
Yeah.
Do you ever get imposter syndrome sitting across them and going, these guys are they could go out onto the street right now, be absolutely hounded by a lot of people to say, I know you from TikTok. You're sitting across from them you're delivering these products to people's doors. Like, do you ever sit there and go, what's going on here? This is crazy. Am I meant to be here? Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah. I was in Liverpool recently with two colleagues. You know, we were meeting a really large brand that we deal with. They turn over about 100 million sterling. And we look after all of their Irish and EU business. And you know, yeah, of course you do. You walk in and you meet the leader of that company, and she's amazing. But you do feel, well, what am I doing sitting there? You know, like, but actually, you got to say to yourself, I actually have a seat at this table.
Yeah.
We've actually got here, you know, and she's, you know, mining me for information. Al, what are you doing? How are you upselling? How can we progress? How can we get to do lives 7 days a week in your warehouse, 9 hours a day?
Wow.
And you're like going, that's really difficult when we're picking and packing so many tens of thousands of orders. But by working together as a partner and with the team, you know, it's like the old days. Remember we used to say, yes, we can. You know, yeah.
We had the decal on the wall.
Yeah,
didn't we?
or John, a go cart before the horse. It's they're the same as us. They've got to where they are from that mentality. Yeah, of course, we always say, yes, we can. We come back, you know, Ed will give you a smack of reality and go, geez, I don't know about that. But we figure it out. We work together because what benefits our brands benefits us. Yeah. You know, essentially they want more sales. We want to pick and pack more orders. So we've got to help each other grow. And yeah, TikTok has absolutely thrown a curveball in with the way they actually sell products. Now, I know I'm talking a lot about TikTok. We do all of the other ones, you know, Amazon, all of the direct to consumer, but TikTok, it's just a different beast.
It's like, it's social media on steroids. We see it like you
know
see
what
it.
Someone said to me, what was the one we used to do at TNS where you come home at night and you'd watch them on TV?
Don't know what you were talking about. And
what was that term?
Like QVC or something?
Yeah, it's like a QVC for millennials.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. You know, you're there and phone, right, okay, I'll tap on this, I'll buy it. Like I look at my 13, 14-year-old, you know, he's on TikTok, it's connected to his Revolut, and he's buying sweets and different stuff. And it's just one click and it's being delivered to the house.
You see it revolutionising brands, smaller brands as well, of people who, let's say they had to spend money on.
But anybody can give it a go.
Anybody.
Anybody can give it a go.
Like you today, Alan. Yeah. You're sitting here, you're talking about TBM, you're on a podcast, probably a small bit outside your comfort zone, to be fair, right? And you're doing it. Brands, all they need is a phone. Yeah. And a little bit of balls. Yeah. Get yourself on the camera. Get yourself talking, tell your story, show your brand off. Yeah. And potentially one day you could be working with TBM Solutions. That's in the grand scheme of things, that's where you could get it to. Yeah. Al, I want to ask you, because it's an amazing journey that you've been on, it's an amazing story with TBM, but what's been your proudest moment since you and Ed have started the company?
I'd say every day. Every day you've got, I know you know, you're buzzing, but every day when you drive to work, you're thinking about where you're going to bring the company or what you're doing. So I can't actually pinpoint one proudest moment. You're walking around the office, you're looking at people. You know, we started this conversation about where you came. I've seen people like that. I see people every day like that in TBM progressing. You know, one individual, you know, has taken a chance, come from Brazil, come to a different country, speaking a different language, and now she's the HR manager.
Incredible.
You know, you're like, and you're proud of that. So you're constantly proud of different things in different areas of the company. You know, if I look at, you know, another moment where you know, like in the UK, we had an amazing experience where I think it was just post-COVID. We'd been working with an oral care brand. You know, I was absolutely so stubborn. I was like, we're getting them. Yep. We're getting them. And I was constantly at them. nearly annoying Barry or Danny or any, this guy needs to go away or whatever, But we had a great relationship through COVID. We were sourcing the masks, hand sanitizer in China. Yeah. Like the original one I was saying, COVID came, it was, what are we doing here? We've got to pay the wages. So we grabbed onto everything, but we worked with them. We had a great partnership. COVID moved on, and then they came to us one day and they were like, listen, our current fulfillment company can't keep up with the amount of orders. Because I think if you cast your mind back, e-commerce in Ireland was small. Yeah. And then COVID came along and everyone was like, whoa, this is pretty cool. Yeah. It's so handy, I could get it all delivered. So they came to us around Christmas time. They were like, here, listen, can you jump in and give us a hand? Me and Ed were like, yeah, listen, we've got to do this one. Yep. We've got to get this brand. Yep. So we did an amazing job. We spun them up over the weekend. We started shipping orders. And me and Ed, we were high-fiving each other. We got this one in the bag. And then they came to us after Christmas. They goes, listen, thanks a million, great job, lads. We're all cool now. We'll go back to our current incumbent. And I was like, what? And then, initially I went, shit. Did we do something wrong or what's the story? Then I was talking to Danny and I was like, what happened? She goes, well, listen, Al, I've been working with the other company for 8 years. Yeah, they had a blip, but I'm staying loyal to them. And when she said that to me, I was like, whoa, that's a bit of admiration there. I'm going, whoa, that's a real partnership. Yeah. And then I was like, right, okay, how do we think a bit differently here? So Brexit was coming along. And we were worried about Brexit. We were going, how are we going to manage the whole UK piece? Yep. And then I was saying to Danny, I was going, what would happen if Brexit really did happen, Danny, and the walls went up and you couldn't get parcels? She goes, well, then I'd be looking for a warehouse in the UK. I was like, oh, right, okay. Bing. So we took a chance. We were like, okay. We were like, might never happen, but we'll explore this one, me and Ed, and we'll go, how could we spin up a warehouse in the UK? So like you do, I rang one of our partners at the time, Welch Group, and I was like, Chris, they won't let us do third party, or 4PL as we call it. And he goes, well, what do you need? And I goes, listen, we need a corner of your warehouse. Yeah. And he goes, yeah, okay, no problem. And I goes, now this is just if it happens. And then, listen, Brexit happened. January came. Danny's then on the phone going, listen, Al, X percentage of our orders go to the UK. Now they're not going to the UK. Now there's customs. We need to get spun up. Wow. And literally over the space of, from the end of January through to April, we'd taken on 6 staff in the UK. We'd put all our systems in there. And that was all through a partnership with Welch. They just believed in us. They were like, no, listen, the guys, they've got something here. They were watching, looking out the window, kind of going, here, what are they doing over there?
Why is Al in the bushes? Yeah.
And now you look at it today, they're shareholders in the company. Jim Welch is chairman of the Pallet Line Group, so we've great backing in the UK. We went from 5,000 to 15,000, and now we've moved out into our own purpose-built 35,000 square foot warehouse in Bedford. It's mad. It's thousands of all relationships.
The recurring theme from you, and it's brilliant because this never changed with the TNS days, is you built, and especially with brands that we used to work with.
Yeah.
You just built up really strong relationships with people. You were honest with them, very trusting, and that it does reap its rewards. And it might not happen overnight, but it does happen eventually.
It's funny what you said there, because I left from a lunch with our operations director, Darren Brady. Yeah. And actually honesty was the theme. When we were having lunch together. He goes, yeah, but we're honest. A lot of other people, they're not. Yeah. Yeah, they pull the wool over their eyes. We're straight up. Listen, it's not working. We've got to change this. And brands believe in us for that.
And it's longevity. You will get longevity out of that. You will. Yeah. It will happen. So, what I want to know as well, all these amazing stories about, let's say the success, the great stuff that's happening at TBM.
The shit times.
How do you handle failure? How do you handle somebody saying, look, well, you've kind of touched on it a little bit, saying we're going back to our current partner. But how do you handle failure out of somebody going, actually, this isn't working?
Fuck it. Didn't work out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
But it's fun football all the time. It's like, fuck it. What are we going to dwell on? Yeah. I'm glass half full, not glass half empty. So I'm like, why didn't it? Then it's like, Ed, Darren, Paula, why didn't it work? Why didn't it work for us? You know, and then we do our due diligence and we're like, this is why it didn't work.
It's win or learn.
Exactly. And then you go, right, okay, how do we learn from that? How do we make sure we do it better the next time? Or we actually say, do you know what? We have our niche. That's not our niche.
Yep.
You know, what are we trying to do looking around 25 kilo boxes in the warehouse of pillows and all? Let's stick to stuff that's easy, faster moving stuff to pick, pack. So yeah, it's kind of fuck it, move on.
I love that. Innovation, the future.
Yeah.
How does that look?
One of our values, actually, innovative.
Excellent.
Yeah. You walk up the stairs, you see all the values as you walk up.
Love that.
Innovative's one of the values.
Great. What does it mean to TBM over the next 5 years?
Strangely enough, I'll dumbfound you. We actually have a 5-year plan.
Give it to us.
Yeah. I was partly involved. No, it's like we want to. Our biggest pain point is space. I know I've reflected on that quite a few times. So, and space in Manchestown or in North Dublin, it's not easy to find. So for us, it's at the minute, you know, key points, it's where TNS was. That's where we do all our direct to consumer. And then over in Stadium, there's 15,000 square foot over there. But that's running pretty much to capacity. So at this moment in time, we're trying to acquire another facility, which will give us another 20,000.
Incredible.
So it's you've got to keep your footprint going. Yep. Because as Ed says to me, you know, when we stop that footprint, well, there's no point having any lads in sales out there trying to grab brands.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So we've got to keep, you know, funneling them more space, more again as well, more solutions, TBM solution, you know, the ELSO solution, you know, knock down barriers for brands to help them go into different markets. So over the next 5 years, I think we'll see a lot of changes within TBM, both in the UK and Ireland. You know, different people will come into the organization because that's got to happen. You know, I've got my ideas, but we've got to have new blood coming in there, kind of going, bringing different ideas to the table. We've got an amazing leadership team. And we're all hungry for success and to continue growing TBM. Yeah, excellent. Absolutely.
No, brilliant. From talking to you, and I know from talking to like your brothers, there's a work ethic. There's a drive. You mentioned about that DNA of being entrepreneurial in the family. Who really pushed you though, Al? Who?
Oh man,
tell us about that.
100%. I think, you know, as my dad wasn't this kind of person who was like, you got to do this, you got to study, you got to do, you know what I mean? I think he kind of led from the front. I kind of watched him and went up early. It was amazing. Had us up early. We had to travel like 40 minutes back in, you know, the 80s or 90s.
Wouldn't have a clue.
Wouldn't have a clue in the 80s or 90s. But he'd have us up in the morning. He'd have the breakfast made for us, made sure we were on a full stomach, and he'd drive us to school, drop us off, and he'd go back to the family business. But there was one thing about Dad I always watched was, you know, he had a great work ethic. He didn't tell us, oh, your ambition has to be this. He just led from the front. You know, and I watched that and I goes, do you know what? He's a brilliant work-life balance because he enjoys himself at the same time. Still to this day, I talk to Dad probably 3 times a week. I'd be asking him about different ideas. I'd be buzzing him, telling him, geez, we're doing this. And he'd love to be on the phone, listening to what you're doing. And I know that, like, that's fallen down. Like, I have 3 brothers, I'm the youngest, and all of them are self-employed. Yep. The eldest looks after has taken over the family business. Huge success, Highfields Hospital Group. 200 years old this year. Like, think of the pressure on him.
Incredible.
Yeah, you know, 500 people working there. You know, your 6th generation. That's pressure if I've ever seen it. And Dad was the previous generation. He had the pressure like that on him. But yeah, definitely dad, 100%.
Excellent. So if you could look back, Al, let's say to your 12 or when you were 12 or 13,
Yeah.
and you were, let's say, starting out that journey of going through secondary school again, going up to college, what advice would you give your younger self?
Whew. Yeah, like I was a really late bloomer. Like as I said, I was 38, 3 kids when I set up, and you know, I had to sacrifice so much at that time. So what you know, when I talk to, you know, any of my kids, you know, the older two, is, you know, it's having that balance of, you know, working while you're in college, because I've seen so many kids come out of college into TBM and they haven't had that office or work ethic in them, and they're a little bit green around the gills. So yeah, you know, Aaron works in TBM as well while he's in college, just to have that balance.
Yep.
You know, I think doing 4 or 5 years in college and come straight out of college going into work, that's tough. That is really tough, because it can be, you know, like we work in an open plan office, you know it well. Yeah. We're all there, there's shouting, there's loads of stuff going on, bit of music going in the background. You come out of college straight into that, you're like, oh, whoa, what's going on? And you're trying to listen to everything that's going on. So I think it's the balance between working while you're in college and then the college life. Yeah.
Excellent. Alan, that has been fascinating, to say the least, and what a journey you've been on. All I can do is wish you continued success, and Ed continued success.
Likewise, Mark.
But and I mean it, the journey that TBM and yourselves and the guys in the company have been on, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
From the outside looking in, it's amazing to see some of the brands that you're working with. Some of the people who've come up through the ranks within the company as well and are really driving it on. It's incredible, and it's testament to yourself and Ed of what you've done as two leaders driving the company. So I wish you the best of luck for the next 5 years for that plan, Alan. And thanks so much for coming on to the Tap In Speak Out podcast. And maybe, who knows, in 5 years' time, be back again.
Yeah, I could be interviewing you.
Yeah. Alan, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Nice.
Good man.
Cool.